I'm Kevin McSweeney. I'm the owner of Five Freedoms Dairy. We focus on animal welfare, so I'm a veterinarian and have been in the dairy industry all my life. I had a practice dealing with some of the biggest and quote-unquote best dairies in the country and the world. It was during that I really became disillusioned with the trajectory of the dairy industry and how cows were treated. So I started Five Freedoms as kind of a counter to the industry and to try to educate people through farmers markets mainly into the realities of the dairy industry and to try to improve cows' lives. Primarily, it starts with leaving the calves with their mothers after birth. So it's common around the world for dairies to remove the calves immediately after birth and rear them separately, and never as good as you could do with the true mother and mother's milk, but it makes more money, so that's why the dairy industry does it. So that's where we start, but we also don't feed any grain, and that's easier on the cows. Grass-fed doesn't mean that cows don't eat grain. It only means that they go out to pasture a little bit, but all the milk you buy in the store comes from cows that eat considerable amounts of grain. So even the Kerrygold butter that you buy, those cows in Ireland, when they come in the milking parlor, they have contraptions that dump 10 to 15 pounds of grain to them a day that they eat, and I don't feed any of that grain. So much better for the cows, much better for the milk and you that's drinking it and eating the products from it. And so this is corn silage. You can see it's mostly there. You can see the stalk and parts of the leaves, and down there's little tiny bits of the grain, but it's the same as cows. You'll see when out here grazing on this pasture, some of these grasses have seed heads, and the cow's eating that, and that's a little bit, of what this grain is, but more natural, the whole plant together and not just these selected out and concentrated for the energy to maximize milk production, and it's hard on the cow and changes your milk. This doesn't. In a commodity market, not feeding grain limits the amount of milk that you can sell so much that you would go out of business. There would be no way that you could do it in a commodity market. And the only way I can do it is because I don't sell to a commodity market. I process and sell direct to the consumers, and they pay me the premium that allows me to be able to manage that way. You can see how natural it is for them. All of them, are out there chomping away. It's pretty innate in them to do that. So it's something that, I feel bad about how many cows are deprived of that around the country. It's really at their telos as far as at their core of being to graze, I think. So I'm glad that these girls are able to live that life now. I often say I don't think there's any industry that misrepresents the true realities of their production than the dairy industry. The dairy industry is really good at marketing. If you remember years ago, the California Happy Cow ad campaign, or the Got Milk or different things, but the California Happy Cow in particular, none of those scenes that they depicted were the realities of what cows live in California. So it's a very cold, sterile life for a lot of cows on dairies nowadays. They live on concrete, they live under roofs, they don't experience sun, they never get out to pasture. Some are completely enclosed in high humid environments now. We have these barns called cross ventilation barns, and you completely seal the barns, and you have one wall of the barn completely in fans, and it just sucks and moves air through, and it keeps cows comfortable in high heat, high humidity environments like Georgia and places like that. But you can't even see the sun, let alone have direct exposure to it. It's a very cold, sterile environment the cows were never intended to live like, but it makes more money in hot, humid environments. So that's where we go. We don't, again, focus on what's best for the cow. We focus on what's best to maximize our revenue. And then we worry about, well, how do we keep cows as healthy as possible in this wacky, deformed management system that we've created to maximize profit. we're telling the public that they're out on green pastures, living beautiful lives, and everything's perfect, and that's not what they're living. And so I think the public has a right to know how the animals are treated that are producing the food they consume. Especially as a veterinarian, going on multiple different farms and seeing differences and different outcomes, it was hard to witness it and know it could be done better. And so the industry is really good at just telling a different reality than what exists. The individual cow really has no advocate. Our cows, there's not the pressure on cows. They don't live on concrete, they live outside, exposure to the sun, and they live much longer lives than you find the average dairy cow in the US. Right now I've got several cows that turn 10 this year and one cow that turns 11, cows that are actually retired on the farm. Ghost is one of my favorites who will be 10 years old here next month. And she's retired. She no longer makes quality milk, but also her udder gets too big now, so it's kind of life-threatening for her to have another baby. So she doesn't get pregnant anymore, and she won't lactate anymore, so she'll just live out her life. Realistically, you find pet cows live to late teens into their 20s a lot of times, so we'll see. Hopefully Ghost has many, many more years left ahead of her. I'm more optimistic about change than I would have been, I think, 30, 40 years ago. So when I was a kid, the resistance to change came from farmers that didn't want to change because their father did it that way and their grandfather did it that way, and I know better than you, and you can't tell me what to do. And that's very hard to change that type of mentality. But nowadays, the owners, the people that could affect the change, they're not like that. Their father didn't work with the dairy cows. They didn't really go out and work with the dairy cows. And so I think all it'll take is educating enough of the consumers out there that they demand that they make changes and manage the ways that are more similar to the way I do. I see if people demand it, they will change, or they'll get out of the industry. It'll be one of the two things, but either way, more of the industry will move in that direction.